Hey, it's Rich Big Daddy Salgado, and here we are, another session of Big Daddy and Friends. And, I promised everybody out there that I was going to bring all my friends on, people that I've been doing business with, people that I've had friendships with, relationships, so on and so on and so on. And this interview is a special one because this gentleman is one of my closest and dearest friends, and we've known each other for a long time. And without ado, let's just say Mr. NHL himself, Kevin Weeks. What's up, Weeksy?
I'm great, Daddy. Thank you, man. Heartfelt sentiments back your way, as you know, man. Anything for you, and a pleasure to be on here with you, man. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. It's, this is a big thrill for me because it's, totally out of my, spectrum because, I'm an insurance guy. And luckily I've dabbled with a little TV and whatnot. And not to give it away and everything, you and I are still trying to get something going with someone else. And we'll share that down the road. But,
sure.
Anyway, just for everyone that isn't familiar with who you are and what you're all about and whatnot, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to brag about you, share our friendship, share some stories, share some laughs, and let people know who the real Kevin Weeks is.
Appreciate that.
We keep it G-rated, so we don't.
Yeah, of course, it's all good. We got a wide audience. We're going to respect the wide-ranging audience. Yeah,
exactly. This reach is a deep reach, as we would say.
Totally.
It's going to be fun. So, for everyone who doesn't know, Kevin, he came out in 1993. He was the 41st pick overall of the Florida Panthers, and you turned out to be one hell of a goalie because you took your career and you took it to about 14 years.
Thank you. Yep.
Here's a Trivial Pursuit question. One out there. Who's the only goalie to play for the Rangers, the Islanders, and the Devils?
I like that one.
Kevin Weeks.
So, I like that one.
You got to use that one when you're talking about. Don't give me the credit because I don't want to get sued by Trivial Pursuit, but at least you have that in your memory bank.
Hey, listen, you know what? I love playing here. I love playing in Metro New York. I enjoyed everywhere I played, really, for the most part, save for maybe one spot. But I really enjoyed playing in Metro New York. There's nothing like it. And to play for all three teams, New York area teams, it was cool because every experience was different. Playing for the Islanders, when I first met you, you're the first person I met in New York. First friend that I made in New York was you. And that was a cool experience too, in addition to our friendship. But playing for the Islanders and playing for the Rangers and then the Devils to end my career, it was really cool playing for all three teams to have that unique experience here in Metro New York.
And the thing that was cool for me was to follow you.
Right.
Because you played here. I remember when you played in Tampa. I was in Tampa.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Carolina.
I went to remember the Stanley Cup Finals when you guys were there, and I went down for that, and that was a story in itself that night.
That was crazy that night. Totally, that was crazy that night.
Oh, that was crazy, but
right?
That was wasn't that like a triple overtime or double?
Yeah. We lost that game to Detroit. That's the one that changed the series, man. Yeah. That changed the Stanley Cup. That marathon overtime game. It was crazy.
Wasn't that like a 3 overtime?
Yeah, Igor Larionov ended up scoring that goal for Detroit, and that kind of changed that Stanley Cup final. But we had a special group. As you know, our Carolina team was special in getting there. We shocked the world, and we went up against that Hall of Fame team. That is the Detroit Red Wings. They had 10 Hall of Famers in that group. And, we were overmatched that way. But what a run it was for us and for our amazing fans that we had down there in Carolina, too. It was awesome.
And then, we had the experience of trying to find somewhere to eat after that game.
Post-game with my family. Yeah, I remember that.
We were driving all around Carolina.
Totally. Driving all around Raleigh trying to find a place and ended up at Denny's.
Yeah, we ended up at Denny's because I was the only thing that was open. But, those are the stories that, people want to hear. And,
totally.
Like you tell people these things and, they exist just like for normal people, It's not
Big
that
time.
we're in a world that's different than everybody else's. You still have to get up, get out of bed. You got to brush your teeth. You got to use the restroom. You got to go out to eat and all that. So, that's part of the whole gig and whatnot. But,
So true.
and I think the one thing that I always found to be a lot of fun and special was when I interacted the hockey world with the football world.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, I think, I think one of the most special times that we had was when we had our man Red Batty came in.
Oh yeah.
Like, I took him to an Islander, a Ranger, and a Devils game. And remember, we went out to dinner with him, and he was like a kid in a candy store. And,
totally.
Now you developed a friendship with him, and this is what, 10 years ago, 15, whatever it was.
Yeah, 15 actually.
Yeah, and he's Canadian by blood, so it made that whole thing that much better. And every once in a while, he'll text me and like, Daddy, I'm watching Weeksy right now on NHL Network, or man, did you see that game last night, or what? And it's just, it's so funny to, like I said, to bring both worlds together. And you guys are football fans, and they're hockey fans. Like our friend Stray, Michael used to go to Devils games all the time.
Yeah.
And then, as a joke, we would always say, between me, him, and Mike Newsom, who you know very well.
Right.
We'd be like, was Weeksy in net last night? I'm like, I don't know. I got to find out. Man, did he give up a field goal or a touchdown? What was it? Well, I hope it wasn't a touchdown because
that's funny.
And
that's so funny.
And I would say to them, I'll be like, well, listen, it's like you guys on defense. You can't stop a parked truck.
Exactly.
So, you better watch out the way you put it because it could come back at you.
Totally. But you know what? That's a cool thing about it too. To your point, is having that banter back and forth, and that rapport and that good-natured ribbing too, because kind of up the competitive spirit. But what was really cool, as you said, it's kind of like a mutual admiration society, right? Like we have friends and we establish friendships with people in other leagues, and as they did with us, and it was really cool. We had the chance to watch them do what they do their thing. They had a chance to watch us do our thing. I mean, Red, who you mentioned, who's a trainer, head equipment guy for the Green Bay Packers, he's a legend. Everybody knows the legend Red Batty.
Yeah.
He's a huge Montreal Canadian fan, but he's been a legend in Green Bay for years, a mainstay, and won multiple Super Bowl rings as well. So funny enough, you mentioned him because we were just going back and forth last week, him and I actually.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
He's, he goes to that. There's a hockey team right there, right across the street from their facility.
Right.
East Coast, I think East
Coast.
The
AHL team. Yeah, Milwaukee.
Yeah. So he's.
Yep, AHL Milwaukee. That's Nashville's Nashville Predators AHL team, their minor league team. Yep.
He's like, oh, Big Daddy, as long as I could taste the ice, at least I got to get a little something. And he goes, they naturally get ice up there, but
Yeah, exactly.
The stick and the puck, he'd rather have that.
Totally.
Totally.
Plus, they have University of Wisconsin, the Badgers, obviously, that have a great hockey program and have had an awesome hockey program there for years too.
Yeah.
So
I know.
And Tony Granato's coaching there now too. So
really?
they got Tony Granato, longtime NHLer. He's coaching there. And keep in mind, they've got a lot of prospects on that team, but Keandre Miller, the young brother that the Rangers took in the first round a couple of years ago, who played 2 years for Team USA at the World Juniors, he's turning pro now. So he's with the Rangers. Look forward to seeing if he can crack the lineup this year. But he played for them at Wisconsin too. So they have a pipeline of players that come out of there for sure.
So for everyone who's watching, I obviously know the story inside and out, but tell people what got you motivated to become a hockey player. Like, basically, I saw your post about Barbados and, and I know that's near to your heart because you're from there.
Sure.
But now you go from Barbados, you go to Canada. What made you want to be a hockey player? That's what I think the people out there want to know that don't know you.
Sure. I think the biggest thing in growing up in Canada, and specifically in Toronto, what was cool is the two parts of the city that we grew up in. The first one was like the original Little Italy back home. And literally, I'd say probably 60% of that neighborhood naturally was Italian. And a lot of them, like me, their parents were immigrants too. So a lot of them had just moved to Canada specifically to Toronto, but it wasn't limited. Like we had different people in the neighborhood too, Portuguese, Greek, Russian, Slovak, I mean, Yugoslavian at the time, Irish, Scottish, and then of course us Caribbeans. So it was just this really cool melting pot. But that was the thing. Like playing hockey was the thing, and especially growing up in Canada, that was the jam. And if you wanted to be in, and you wanted to feel like you assimilated and you fit in, that was the main sport. We played other sports too. I loved other sports growing up, and I played other sports in school. But literally, what happened was the goalie who I used to play street hockey with my older cousin and his friends. My older cousin's born in '68. I'm born in '75. And some of his friends were born in 66, 65, 70, 71. I'm born in 75. So I was a lot younger than those guys. And they would play street hockey in our neighborhood behind our building. And what happened was the main goalie who used to play, whose family emigrated from Greece and moved to Toronto, his last name was Lambros. He was always one of the goalies. And he was always one of the goalies. And what was cool about him being one of the goalies is the fact that he always had one net and then there was another net, but somebody would go in the second one. So finally, Lambros, for whatever reason, his family was moving from Toronto back to Greece. And that's when they said, hey, listen, if you want to hang and you want to play, you got to go in the net. I was like, perfect. That's where I want to be. I was 6 years old. I was like, that's where I want to be. And literally we'd play street hockey, and then the park down the street from our place, Hillcrest Park, they would have an outdoor rink in the winter, and I'd be out there in the outdoor rink with my winter boots before my parents even bought my skates. And then my cousin went to go register to play house league at St. Mike's Arena. My aunt and uncle let him register. And then I went home and I told my parents, I'm like, hey, Dad, I want to play. Mom, I want to play. And luckily, my parents said yes. And literally, Big Daddy, from first grade, my teacher was Miss Mahar. We still have the book at my parents' house. It's the first book that I wrote as a kid in school. And I drew myself as a goalie, and I had a scoreboard on the ice, and I had the NHL logo in it. And from 6 years old, right away, I knew I wanted to play in the NHL.
Wow, that's that's like you talk about having a vision and a dream, and you write that vision down or dream down.
Totally.
And you say, boom, that's where I'm going. And
100%.
And I can relate to that because I've done that myself.
Right.
And, it's funny. One moment I don't have a car, and then all of a sudden I'm like, well, you know what? The first thing I want to get is myself I wanted this Yukon truck, like the car with the big tires and everything. And I took a picture of it, and I used to hang it on my wall. And I'm like, you know what? That's what I'm striving for.
Totally.
And then one day I got it, and I always use that, things that are within reach. I'm not saying like, hey, let me have Ohika Castle as my home. That
right.
And that's ridiculous. But visionary goals are great. And I always tell people, if you dream, live out your dream. Because when you stop doing that, then you don't get where you want to get to.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, man. Listen, I think that as a 6-year-old, I was very clear in my intention. And to your point, I knew what my compass, where it was pointed. I knew what my direction was. I knew what my life goal was. And there wasn't anything that was going to stop me or prevent me from getting there. Being a black goalie didn't matter. Whatever, it didn't matter. Caribbean parents didn't matter. None of the setbacks or things that people would use as kind of maybe knocks against me, they weren't going to withhold me from getting to the league and making the league and living my dream. And I think one thing that's really important about that too, is in having that, you go through different stages in life, but quite honestly, my parents never, ever, ever, ever one time had to get on me to get ready for practice, to grab my equipment, to grab my sticks, to want to go to power skating or goalie school or whatever the case may be, ever. Not the gym, ever, never. Because I knew that that's what it took for me to get to where I wanted to get. And I think a big thing for a lot of your listeners and your viewers here is set really big goals for yourself, be aspirational, and work exceptionally hard to make those things happen. Because you don't want to live your life and have regrets of what you could have or maybe might have or were really capable of doing because you cut yourself and sold yourself short. That's a tough one to live with.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm a firm believer in what you just said. And also, I go by this mantra, and sometimes people take it the wrong way, but I always say eliminate distraction.
Oh, beyond.
because distractions are things that hold you back,
Totally.
whether it be negatively or, and I went through, obviously, you know me well enough
Sure.
for years that, I've gone through negative stages and
Sure.
then I moved on, and,
Yeah.
sometimes the transition isn't easy, but
Of course.
you move on and you say to yourself, look, I was here, I went here, I got to get back to here. So how do I get back to here? And that is getting rid of negative things and also focusing on positive, surrounding yourself with positive people and friends, and then you deal with the other stuff on your own when you have the time to. Well, I think
Sure.
you make a mistake when, if you're trying to be a professional athlete, a goalie, a hockey player, or whatever, and you're worried about, oh, my girlfriend dumped me, or she's not happy with the dress, or whatever, stupid stuff like that.
Sure.
And I'm just being honest. Some guys may
100%.
Some guys may not be open like I am and say it like this, but that is the truth. And I've been there, and you know what? I pushed it aside. I have a real focus now, and I'm getting back to where I used to be and the person I am. Because one, I wasn't happy, and two, I was letting it affect my relationships. So, you know what? You learn a lesson. I learned a valuable lesson, and now Big Daddy's game is going this way, and every morning I wake up, that's my positive reinforcement. People ask me, how do you get up that early and go to the gym? I don't know. I just do it. And I'm excited to do it because I notice the weight loss, the change.
You're looking great.
How I feel so much better and the energy. And then it's also having, positive reinforcements from people that care about you and your family and your loved ones. So
no question.
Those are all things that I always try to stress to people. They ask me, how you do this, how did you get over this? Look, it's like that interview I did. Look, an aneurysm, divorce, and COVID-19 didn't take my life yet.
Yeah, so exactly.
God's got me here for a reason, and I'm here for a mission. And what that mission is, I'm dealing with it right now, and you know what? And it's working. So let's just say that.
That's awesome. No, that's all well said. Appreciate you sharing that with a lot of the viewer listeners. That's profound stuff. And listen, it's really rooted in simplicity. I think a lot of times people try to outthink things and overthink things. And I got to tell you, it's funny. You kind of talk about eliminating distractions. I was that kid where if it wasn't about hockey or sports or something positive, I was never around it because I was that laser focused. And people that know me, I've got friends that I played with when I was 8 years old. I told you I'm 45 now. Mm-hmm. I've got friends that I've known literally that I played with from that time. They'll tell you the same thing. No, not into the drinking, not into the weed, not into any of that stuff. No drugs.
I know that personally. So.
Right? None of that was my thing.
Nope.
If I was in a relationship and there's too many arguments, I'm out. If it's this and it's too many, I'm out. If it's people whose behavior that was compromising or their friends or their associates were compromising, I'm out. I'm not hanging because I knew a couple things. Number one, on the road to get into the NHL, I had no margin for error, especially being a black goalie, especially playing hockey. Number two, at home, I knew that I'd get jacked up because my parents raised me right. So there wasn't going to be any slack.
Let me tell the viewers.
Yeah.
Your parents are great people, and I've always had a great admiration for them. So
thank you so much, man. And listen, so that comes from being raised properly at home. So for me to have that at home, that's number one. And then number two, to then have that in what became my profession, but from a young age, from a social standpoint, I only wanted to be around people that were doing positive things. And not everybody's going to play in the NHL or NBA or NFL or do whatever, but do something positive, something constructive, and people that can add value and that are genuine people. Mm-hmm. And even if they aren't the most career-oriented people, but yet still they're genuine and they're high character, no problem, you could be around. But soon as they were compromising at any age, And at any stage, I'm telling you, from 8, literally from 6 to now as a 45-year-old in different situations, I've had to just remove myself from different situations because the negativity. Here's the thing, Daddy. We were joking about this earlier. When I'm on the highlights, I want to be on the right side of the highlights.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I'm giving my teammates the best chance to win when I was playing.
Mm-hmm.
I envision myself making all the saves, all the different scenarios, Gretzky, Lemieux, Crosby, whoever it was I was playing against, all the greats of the greats. And I'd envision myself stopping them and envision our team winning. And envision the end of the game coming up with the boys tapping me on my head, on my mask, being like, Weeksy, good game, man. Big win for us. Good game, whatever. And wanting to be one of the game stars, all really in the greater concept of trying to win the Stanley Cup and being a Stanley Cup champion. You know, that's the goal. And quite frankly, Daddy, anytime I've had situations in the rare times where it has been the wrong person or the right person's around, they show that they're the wrong person, they hang with the wrong people, their people are getting in legal trouble, that they're in legal trouble, all the rest of it, whatever the case may be, it's always come back to bite me in the rare times that that's happened. So remember this, while I was on the highlights as a goalie, I'm the only one in the net. And I don't want people watching the highlights in Philly, Long Island, Chicago, LA. What's wrong with this Weeks guy? What's wrong with him? He can't stop the puck. Germany, Russia, Sweden. What's up with Weeks? He let in that terrible. I hated that. So I always wanted to make sure I was hyper prepared. And the same thing for TV. The circle that you have around you, I don't want to be on there calling the Dallas Stars by some other name, calling the Vancouver Canucks by the wrong name, their team name. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's funny because I'll share this, you'll laugh. My parents always tell me, my mom actually told me the last time we FaceTimed with them 2 days ago, make sure that you're always on your game and make sure you don't say anything stupid and you don't want to go on TV and say anything stupid. Make sure you stay in shape because you don't want to be out of shape on TV talking to people. Like old school stuff, but amazing value, and it makes tremendous sense, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny being as big as I am and now changing everything around and I remember I used to laugh, especially when I walk into Fox, you know, some of the guys would eat, but you know, like they would take just like a bite of something and, you know, everybody's watching their weight and all that. And I'm like, wow, I mean, you know, that was really like different for me to, as if I was on air, I was, hey, Big Daddy, eat a burger and I'd eat the whole thing, you know?
Right.
But now here I am where I'm juicing. Like before Thanksgiving, I did a 3-day cleanse, like a 3-day juice.
That's awesome.
You know, it was a little difficult, but it wasn't like I was just drinking water or whatever. I had protein shakes because of the workouts. I would never make it through the day being just drinking green juice or
whatever. Of course.
Because I after doing cardio, we would do weights.
Right.
I'd be hungry, so I'm like, I gotta have a shake. But you know, now it's a whole different ball game. It's like I'm really, you know, paying attention and being in tune.
Yeah.
Regardless if I lose 100 pounds, I'm still going to be Big Daddy. Everybody calls it.
Of course.
And
exactly.
You know, our sax people, you know, Vinny and Bill, we have to do some renovation, you know, retailoring because
exactly.
You know,
that's a great problem to have. It's not a problem.
Look,
that's a great problem to have.
This sweatshirt I'm wearing in honor of our biggest Ranger fan, Augie.
Nice.
You know, I got to represent Cardinale Bakery.
Of course. And you're rocking Trippers, digging in with Trip hat too.
I'm digging in for my guy Trip.
Yeah, our boy Trip Tracy.
He's coming on the show as well.
I look forward to it.
And you know, it's all these things. Like I always say, like I have my golf outing. I have my,
which is spectacular.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, this week coming up, I'm dressing up as Santa Claus for hospice care.
Amazing.
And it's those things where, you know, unfortunately, you can't go to sporting events now. So, you know, I've taken kids to games that have lost parents and, you know, want to meet their, you know, this one person, their son wanted to meet Dan Marino. And I know Danny and we, you know, you've been to NFL games with me before. I mean, like, you know, when we go, you know, we walk down on the field and, you know, you all of a sudden, it's like, it's funny when I've done it where I've been on the other end where I'm watching you do your thing.
Right.
And it's kind of funny to have Meg, your
Yeah.
significant other, taped
Yeah.
us walking into the stadium and us
Totally.
walking onto the field.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, wow, now Kevin gets to see what I do up front
Sure.
because you've always been playing, so you never had the opportunity. And then
Totally.
here we are now. I have a relationship with Kim
Yeah.
Bakula, uh,
Yeah.
obviously because of you when we made the intro and whatnot.
Hmm.
And I text her every once in a while. I got to
That's
get her
cool.
on. I'm going to get her on the show. And
That's cool, man.
yeah. So like she has hockey and football, so
Of course.
it was
The
kind of
Sabres and the Bills, for sure, up in
kind of cool
Buffalo.
to have that little powwow that we had there before the game last year.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but I know one thing that you're very you're deep and strong about is racial inequality. I know
Yeah.
that tell the fans what your stand is and who, what, and where and why. I think.
Yeah. Well, that's a great opener on that. Like, listen, I come from a great island in my parentage and, my culture and my background is Barbados, beautiful Barbados in the Caribbean. And, it's 166 square miles of paradise and, a great place, hyper refined. You have almost 100% literacy rate and, one of the best small countries in the world. And of course, we were part of the British monarchy, but we've had our independence since 1966. But in saying all of that, education is really big there. As I mentioned, it's almost 100% literacy rate. And how you treat people, especially old school, and how you treat people and how you treat your neighbors or your aunt or your uncle or whoever, your sibling, whatever the case may be, that starts at home. But for years, you've had all these people, whether it's Mick Jagger to whoever, Kenny Rogers to whoever, whichever type of musician and or celebrity that was going to Barbados for years and going all across the Caribbean, right? And consider this, that's normal for us. And not to mention our own population there is more diverse than people think. Even though it might be a 90-something% Black population, there's still a lot of mixing and there's been so much mixing really since colonization, really since then. So, I just found out 2 years ago that my mom's side, because my mom's skin, she's kind of fair skinned and she was born and raised in Barbados and so too was her dad. But I just found out that my great grandfather was German. I never knew that this whole time. So that's a common thing in the Caribbean. And you have such an eclectic mix, such a diverse mix of people. And quite frankly, when my mom first emigrated to Canada, she went to Canada. My aunt left Jamaica and went to London. My uncle, my mom's brother, my late uncle now, left Barbados and went to London, and then they went up to Canada. And quite frankly, my dad didn't want to leave Barbados, and he was working on a plantation, Big Daddy.
Wow.
On his own island. He was working at Applewood's plantation, and he was the overseer of the plantation, like kind of the GM, and West Indies record label that had a record factory on the back of the plantation too. So he didn't want to leave working on a plantation. He didn't want to leave to come to North America.
Yeah, that's strong.
Right. My mom had to pull and prod and pull and prod. She went back to Barbados. They got married. She tricked my dad into coming up to Canada, saying that it was a vacation. And she had all his immigration stuff done. She had an apartment set up, everything. And they've never looked back. But my point is, even amidst their own experiences on their own island, it was never a problem for us. And at home, there was always an openness and a receptiveness. My parents at work, my mom worked at Blue Cross for 40 years. She then worked at Sick Children's Hospital for just under 10 years. My dad worked at Nestle's chocolate factory for 40 years in Canada. And they have friends of every different background. So that's the way I was raised, my sister and I, that's the way we were raised. And playing, as I said, minor hockey back home as kids, I had friends on my team with every different background. So when we'd have sleepovers, when I would go to my Italian buddies' houses, their moms were making lasagna and their nonas were making sauce. Yeah. When I go to my Greek buddies' houses, their parents were making souvlaki. Like, and you start going around the horn. And I learned that at a very young age, and it became very natural. And something that's really important to fast forward it is North America, everybody from around the world want to come to North America. And everybody wants to come to live the American dream or the North American dream.
Yeah.
And a big part of what the United States is here, and a growing bigger part of what Canada is becoming as well, is on the backs of people that emigrated there. So if you look at all the amazing things that Latinos have done, you look at all the amazing things that African Americans have done, Italian Americans, Italian Canadians, Russian Americans, Russian Canadian, and you start Greek, like you look at all the names and you see who all these people are and how many ways that they've been able to, East Indian, Asian, like I can go along the whole color wheel and the whole line, British, like there's so many different people that help make this country and North America what it is. And so many of them, Big Daddy, as you know, that serve in the military, men and women and families, that the only color that matters is the camo and the flag. That's really it.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So imagine this now. So I say to people, imagine this. Imagine, heaven forbid, your daughter is afflicted by something. And as I said, my mom worked at Sick Children's Hospital. So imagine there's somebody that goes into Sick Children's Hospital in Toronto. It's one of the best pediatric hospitals in the world. And they happen to be a white family, and say a white Canadian family. When they go in there, they're looking to get the best medical care for their daughter, as soon as possible, correct?
Yep.
So do you think that they go in there like it's a buffet? If there's a black pediatrician, I don't really want that. If there's an East Indian nurse, I don't really want that. If there's a Latino care nurse, I don't really want. You want the best care possible as quickly as possible to get your daughter as healthy as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why, to me, I think we, especially North America wide, this is a global issue, but we are the beacon for a lot of great things in the world of possibilities, right? From Frank Sinatra to Prince, Michael Jackson, to Jordan, to Tiger, to the late Kobe, to Phil Mickelson, Wayne Gretzky, Marilyn Lemieux, Serena Williams, Barbara Corcoran, A-Rod, Jeter, all these, Michael Jordan, all these different people. They're different genders, different colors, different parts of the color wheel. Dean Martin, Elvis, like we can go on, and they've represented here in the United States, but North America as a whole, as some of the best in the history of the world at what they do. So if we understand that and we like that and we value that, I always believe it's important to respect that in people, respect their cultural differences or their nuances or their sexual orientation or their gender or their religious differences, and know that certainly here in the United States, as an example, Daddy, and this relates to both of us, African-American and Latino spending is a combined $3 trillion.
Yep.
$3 trillion. I'm not even talking about all the different denominations I mentioned, because there's tons. Jewish, I mean, we can go on and on.
Yeah.
But LGBTQ, we can go on and on for the different denominations, but that's a part of strength. And those different things are a part of the strength of the country and certainly the continent and what helped make North America what it is. So when people conveniently say, oh, well, I don't really care. Oh, well, or they have a racist take or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you just said, you're providing that opportunity for that kid to meet Dan Marino, right? And what's that parent going to say if it was OBJ or if it was Eli Manning? You're going to say you don't like white people? You're going to say you don't like black people? You're going to say you don't like Latino people? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So therein lies the hypocrisy around it all. And, I always say, especially for here, I've lived in the United States for 20 years. I'm a U.S. resident, soon to be citizen, Canadian citizen, obviously. And as I said, Bajan, Barbadian parentage. At the end of the day, the first name of this country is United.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And nowadays it doesn't seem that way, but
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And here's something that's pretty cool. You've been around a long time. You played elite college ball at Maryland. I know you're a proud Terp. And you've been around pro, and you've had so many clients in different sports and pro sports and entertainment, and you've seen it yourself. Here's the one thing for me, and I always give this example. When I was playing, and I love Philly, and ironically, Philly is called the city of brotherly love. It's an hour down the turnpike from us here in Jersey, outside New York City. I remember there were certain fans, and two fans in particular, that were yelling at me in Philly anytime we played the Flyers, calling me the N-word. These same two fans I saw on with my own eyes, which are great because I'm a former goalie. I saw them on TV at a Sixers game in Philly cheering for Allen Iverson. Now, did they not know that Allen Iverson was black too?
Yeah. I mean,
like, that's the hypocrisy. You know what I mean?
That's rudeness.
Totally. So the same building, the same arena where the Philadelphia Flyers play and the Sixers play, you're yelling at me, calling me the N-word, and you're cheering in the same arena. And the next night or that afternoon, if they swap the court, the rink, you're yelling and cheering for Allen Iverson, the answer.
Yeah.
So therein lies that hypocrisy. And I just think that it says a lot about people and holes in their character when they have that outlook on life. It says more about them than it does about you or me or anybody else.
So let's talk quickly about Kevin Weeks, the entrepreneur.
Okay.
Obviously,
so listen,
tell everybody about your gear, man.
Yeah. So I started No 5-Hole Apparel probably about 8 years now ago. And it was a creative venture for me. I loved it because it gave me an opportunity to, creatively express myself, hats, hoodies, and things of that nature, connect with NHL fans around the world, connect with players and, from the NHL to youth hockey. But it was a real creative venture. At this point now, I'm venturing more into content like you.
Yeah.
But Daddy, I learned from the likes of yourself and other people we've been around. Remember, you had Big Daddy gear for so long, and you had been kind of into this entrepreneurial space by way of your insurance business and everything that you do. So quite frankly, you're older than me by maybe a year or two. I'm not dating you, but us being boys, I learned from people like yourself and people that have come before me. And I really like that side of it. I really enjoy real estate and other stuff in business. Yeah. And I love the entrepreneurial side of things too. So it's been a lot of fun, man. And I'm sure you've had a lot of fun with that yourself. And as you are right now doing this amazing content.
Yeah, it's a whole different element, a whole different world. I've had a real close friend of mine kind of sit me down and explain to me, you have these opportunities and you have these lanes and I always say, yeah, there's opportunities every day. I have a blackboard that's over there, dry ink board. And
hand the camera over there if you can. Let's get a little look at it.
It's a little hard. The camera's set here, so it's a little difficult. But at the top, I have Coastal Advisors LLC.
Yep.
Beneath it, I have Big Daddy and Friends.
Sure.
The next line, I have Gas It Up, which is a mobile fueling business.
Absolutely.
And then I have Big Daddy Golf Classic.
Yep.
The Orthopedic Foundation, which we're both honored by.
Totally.
And I have the Share Group, which is that women's empowerment group, which I'm an ambassador for.
Sure.
And then lastly, I have, and I think I might have told you about this, but I'll share it with you and all our viewers and listeners. I have Big Daddy's Grilling Bacon.
You told me about that, yeah.
I got working on my own appetizer size bacon line that we'll get out there in restaurants and supermarkets and a lot of exciting stuff in 2021,
I love that. Let me jump in for a sec. Congrats on all things good. That's amazing. And I was going to say, I think one of the unique things too, Daddy, for us is we've had a lot of exposure. We have the opportunity to have a lot of exposure. Mm-hmm. And if you look at Kevin Plank, for example, who you're kind enough to introduce me to back in 2000, who you played with at University of Maryland. And, he went on to found this little company called Under Armour.
Yeah.
And you were kind enough to put me in pocket with him when I was playing for the Tampa Bay Lightning at the time. And you remember, I was the first NHL player to wear Under Armour shirts under my gear. Yeah. And I would wear it for practice and for games. I was the first one. I'll never forget when he sent the box. And then when I started kind of in my early stages of No 5-Hole Apparel, you were kind enough again too to have Kevin Plank set up a meeting and have us over there and spend some time at the Under Armour's headquarters in Baltimore. And he was so grateful. He was so helpful and insightful what he provided. And always know I've been a big Jordan guy from day one. You know me that already.
Oh, I know
and I've
that.
had the chance to be around MJ and attend some of his events and get a sense for what he does and who he is. And we got to see a lot of that in The Last Dance. So all that to say, I think through where we've come through in the world of sports and elite sports and entertainment and business, has provided us a lot of unique opportunities, safe to say. And, we've learned a lot along the way. Some things go well. I mean, you look at you with your golf tournament as an example. That's a huge venture. And you do an amazing job of raising a ton of money for the causes that you support. And keep in mind, look at the people that you've had there. Look at the attendees that you've had and the roster of who's who in the world of sports entertainment, right?
Yeah.
So we just learned as we go along.
I sit there in amazement sometimes myself, because I'm like, is he really here?
Totally. Exactly.
And I have to give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
When you and PK showed up that one year, I mean, I could not have been more grateful, because I know you both had to be in Vegas for the NHL awards, and for you to come in on that Sunday, and then, you had to leave Monday. That really showed. I mean, I knew all about you and what you stand for, but for PK, who I had only met really once,
right?
We had chatted, and then for him to agree to come in, that spoke such volumes about him. And when I told certain people there that, he was there, you guys were coming, they were like, wow. And boom, there you guys were. And I remember me, you, him, and Jaffe sitting
and Billy Jaffe,
trying to get food. Remember,
I remember that. We're in the back in the kitchen. I remember that.
In the kitchen, yeah.
Totally. At Oheka Castle.
And, so things like that. I had Jim Trotter on, and he had nothing.
He's great. I love him too.
Yeah,
another good cat.
Shared his love, and he was so grateful in saying, hey, he loves coming to the golf outing. He comes in early because he wants to get his Umbertos on. He wants to get that on because he's in San Diego, so they don't know what pizza is out there. So, he's like, I got to get in Friday. I'm like, totally. And we go out. And I told him, now I got to bring him over to Augie's Bakery.
Yeah, that'd be
the
cool.
Other side of the taste. But
you know what, Daddy? Let me jump in. I think something that's really cool here is the fact that for you to have that golf tournament and have as much success as you've had with it, and I know it's going to relaunch in 2021. We're looking forward to that because you're able to help amazing causes. But when you were able to bring those people together, or when I hosted my golf tournament in Barbados years ago at Sandy Lane, and then
remember, I went to yours in Toronto.
In Toronto, UK, exactly, in the gala and everything, right? So the point that I'm making to you, though, is this all goes back to relationships. And it goes back to networking and cultivating trusted relationships. Yeah. And I think that's something that for the people that tune in, it's something that I want to impress upon them, because you didn't just accidentally be able to go up the road here to MetLife Stadium and walk around at field level and be able to talk to Tom Brady or be able to speak to so-and-so. And yeah, some people are clients and some of us are clients, but it's also forging those relationships with people from everybody, from Red Batty in the equipment room as the equipment manager for the Green Bay Packers up to Mike Tyson or Tom Brady, as I just mentioned, and everything in between, right? And whether it's Lisa and Scotty over at Arturo's, or it's Augie, as you mentioned, at Cardinale, or it's, it's everybody at Umberto's and the whole family. Like the Cortales, I think at the end of the day, relationships are very, very, very key to navigating business, life, of course, sports, entertainment, you name it. We're talking about people. It's not commodities. We're not talking about coal and iron. You know what I mean? So that's something that you do an outstanding job at. You're one of the most you're probably the most networked person that I know. And I've tried to take a big page out of your book in doing that. I'm always asking for numbers. I'm not shy to ask for numbers.
No,
I've seen you for years.
Look, when you're in my family, my group, I have no problem extending and sharing. It's
sure.
It's like I can pick up the phone, and I know that I'm credible enough to reach certain people.
Totally.
I mean, think about it. For a minute there, for a couple of years, we were the sharpest dressed guys on the planet because
Exactly.
we had Saks Fifth Avenue dressing us.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, I had more new friends than I can imagine after me, you, Schefter, and everybody, and Baldy, and everybody else, Bob Papa, were dressing like, we were walking the runway. Those are things that I'm so proud of. And, I have admiration because the people that I asked to join me and with that venture are people that I care about and truly love. And
sure.
And if I could share something with someone, I will share it.
Yeah.
There's no reason to be a pig or greedy about it. It's good to do that. And look, we got our benefit, they got their benefit. So we
100%.
made it. If you would have asked me 10 years ago that I'd be hosting Super Bowl parties for Saks Fifth Avenue, I'd been like, what are you talking about? I've never even been to Saks.
Right.
First, everything in there,
right.
Not anything that would fit me.
Sure.
Let alone go in there and to look.
Right.
There was to get a gift for somebody else.
Sure.
For me, but those are all the things in life that I count my blessings and I'm always grateful for.
No, 100%. And listen, we're in the people business. My parents told me that since I was young, and they've always been people. And that's why, to your point, it's really important to have the right people around you so that they can amplify. At the worst case, they could be neutral, but that they can amplify and help make you better, and help take you to the next level. And as opposed to people that can bring you down or that have a mind to tear you down or to be destructive or to be harmful or hurtful, So, hey, at the end of the day, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. That's really a big part of it. Yeah. It's an old saying, but it's really, really true.
That is, I haven't heard that in a while, but I'm glad you brought that up. And
yep.
And you know what? Listen, at the end of the day, I'll get personal. You know what? You have a beautiful, significant other who I adore. And Megan, when you watch this, Big Daddy always loves you, and
she does you, yeah.
And she's the best cook in the world. And
thank you.
All right, so I'm a little biased on the food thing, but
yeah,
I told her in one of my texts, I said, "Look, I got to push away a little bit. I can't throw down, the half tray of lasagna with 40 meatballs."
Oh, that's funny. That's all right. You can pare it down to a quarter of that now. It's all good.
Yeah, so we have to condense that a little bit, but you're blessed there, and please send my love. And then last but not least, I discussed with you earlier that okay, now let's turn it around. Now NHL Network's Kevin Weeks is going to ask me a question.
All right, here's one thing that I would ask you. So you have all these unique experiences and earned and trusted access, which is very key for everybody tuning in. What's the one most important thing that you've learned through your long career in sports, business, and entertainment? What's the most important thing?
Is to be real.
Totally.
Don't be someone that you're not.
Totally.
We talk about equipment managers, we talk about, head coaches, obviously I have a relationship with the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
He'll even call me Big Daddy in front of people, because one time we were at some meeting and I said, "Hey, how you doing? My name is Rich Salgado." And he's like, Roger told them, "That's Big Daddy. Don't Rich Salgado, who's that?" And
totally.
And I think that's the reason that I have the relationships with certain people like yourself and people at high level. But also, it's always important to remember the people at the bottom.
Big time, yeah.
Because those people one day will not be at the bottom. They climb. Mike Newsom, who we were dear friends with.
Brother News.
Mike used to be a ball boy.
Yeah.
And then he went to the NFL, and now he's a big shot at Nike. So everyone grows both professionally and personally. And that's why I try to treat everyone with respect, because you never, ever know where they will end up. And people are people. You don't need to treat them. And I've been with some of the wealthiest people on the planet,
Sure.
and some of the people that have nothing. And you know
Sure.
what? I've been at the top, I've been at the bottom, back up to the top. So it doesn't make me different, doesn't make me better. I'm just, look, I'm glad to be alive. I get out of bed every morning. I have a purpose, and I give back when I can give back. And those are the things that mean the world to me, because it's important. A lot of people forget where they came from, and
Totally.
I don't. That's why me and my brother Jimmy, who you know with the Bills,
Yeah.
that's why we have a football camp, and we do it at our hometown.
Totally.
Because we want those kids that, some of them may not be able to afford to go to a game.
Exactly.
Let us bring the athletes to them. And you know what?
Yeah.
We bring different athletes, from all different sports to the table to speak to the campers. Brian Kilmeade, Pete Hexel, Fox. We bring coaches. We bring anybody. You're going to come one year because we got you. You're always in the mix of the playoffs, though, around June, so it's hard.
Yeah, I know. It's tough at Stanley Cup final time. Yeah.
It's tough, but
yeah,
I think all those experiences that I've had a chance to experience, if I don't have any children of my own to give that to, I'll give it to every other child.
Sure. That's awesome.
Because there's no reason to not to.
That's awesome. I love that. No, that's powerful. Been having my camp back home in Toronto, my hockey camp for years. And we've had north of 11 players playing the NHL through that camp. So, man, a lot of them won the Stanley Cup, and some of them multiple Stanley Cup winners. Yeah. I think the big thing too is being able to your point, sharing a lot of those experiences. And also I was on a conversation earlier today with my friend Tony from back home, and is sharing a lot of that inside knowledge, right? Like a lot of times people's knowledge is only through looking through that screen and or looking through the screen we're on right now, or whatever device they're on, tablet, but we're actually inside of that thing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'll tell you, it got really real for me because as a kid, I was young and then elite and high performance and top prospect. And then I got into the minors, and then I got into the league. And when I got into the league, all the hockey cards and the sticker books and the posters that I had on the wall at my parents' house, I was playing against them. And that's when it got really, really real. And I realized right away, like, okay, I can't win an NHL game to save my life. It was extremely tough. It was extreme adversity. I was getting hammered in the press because I was winless for so long. But really, I knew I had game, and I knew I was hungry. I just had to get the experience and had to learn some hard lessons along the way. And I was able to get my training wheels off and lick my wounds and soothe my bumps and kind of find my footing. But all that to say, being inside of it is unique, and it's a unique experience. You learn a lot of unique things, and being able to impart some of those things and share some of that with other people to help them on their journey is powerful stuff. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. So I agree with you 1,000%. And I want to say, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on with me. It's
my pleasure, man.
It's an honor, and I'm also still in shock because, you're the voice of the NHL Network. I don't care what anybody says. I may be a little bit biased, and you're a brand Jordan. Okay, let's just say
appreciate that. Thank you.
That's what you really are, and you have a lot of admirers out there, and of course, both professionally and personally, I wish you nothing but the best. And I love you to death. So we'll do this again, a couple more times, I'm sure, and we'll have fun. And please, again, happy holidays to you, your family, to Megan, and I expect to be over there in Jersey sooner than later.
You'll be over here sooner than later at the crib for sure. Thank you so much. Thanks for being you. Love you. Thanks for being you. Appreciate you having me on. Look forward to being back on with you again down the line. Once you get through your amazing roster of guests and friends. And listen, Daddy, I think, happy holidays to everybody. Hope everybody stays healthy and safe and positive.
Yep.
That's most important, especially amidst the tough time that we have now and the challenges that we're all facing right now, both directly and indirectly, right? It's really important for people to keep that in mind. But you dropped some amazing knowledge here, and it was awesome to be able to connect with you on this vibe. And to your last point, listen, man, it's anytime you can be of service, that's really important. One thing about you and one thing about me and our circle is we like to serve. And, you know, we like to serve. We realize things are bigger than us, right? And to your last point when you made about me regarding hockey, we're a $5 billion league at the NHL level. And, you know, we're the tip of the iceberg in our sport. And there's so many great players that have played, that do play, and different people and women and men that work in different capacities around our league. It's a privilege to serve it, man. So, you know, I get to do that on multi-platforms, obviously starting with the TV, but I just look at it as everything I have and my family and I that we have as a result of the game, as Wayne Gretzky says. Yep. So, you know, I feel great about paying that forward and in any way we can. And you saw Brian Jennings, who's our NHL chief of branding, chief brand officer, who we had yesterday on my Instagram at Kev Weeks. And we were talking with him and he said the same thing. He echoed the exact same thing about serving and being of service. So thanks so much for having me, bro. Love you, man.
All right. Love you too. And all you fans out there, keep an eye out for Big Daddy and Friends. We'll be coming back real soon with some great guests and a lot of great stories like we told today. So until next time, I'll see everyone real soon.